Thank you for choosing Blue Trail Engineering. This video will serve as a step-by-step guide for terminating and potting cobalt cable connectors using the Blue Trail Engineering Cable Termination Kit and Cable Termination Tool. This process will be the same for all connector sizes and pin configurations that are available. This process must be performed on a cable with a bondable outer jacket, such as polyurethane. The process also requires intermediate soldering skills, familiarity with two-part epoxy, and some tools and materials. The cable termination kit includes 1 connector shell, 1 locking sleeve, 1 O-ring, and 1 connector insert with contacts already installed. The process will also require a Blue Trail Engineering cable termination tool with the appropriate pin count. For a clean, professional-looking result, you can use a silicone mold, like this one available from Blue Trail Engineering. We will be demonstrating the potting procedure using this silicone mold. The following tools and materials are used in this procedure: soldering iron and solder, wire strippers and wire cutters, multimeter, Dremel tool or equivalent, 6mm or 1/4 inch diameter grinding bit, vise, drill press or arbor press, 16 gauge 30mm needle, acetone, isopropyl alcohol, and a suitable epoxy adhesive with a mixer tip or syringe. Blue Trail Engineering has tested 3M DP420 epoxy in this application. Other epoxies or potting materials may work, but it is your responsibility to test them thoroughly in this application. To begin the procedure, first, use the Dremel tool or equivalent to abrade the inside of the connector shell, being careful not to abrade the end portion where the connector insert goes. After abrading the inside of the connector shell, rinse it out with acetone and allow it to dry. To help prevent dust particles, use isopropyl alcohol to clean the cable jacket, as well as the silicone mold. At this stage, slide on the connector hardware, starting with the locking sleeve, then the silicone mold. And finally, the connector shell. Order and orientation are very important in this step, so check your work before proceeding. Next, cut your cable to the desired length and expose no more than 10mm of wire on the inside. To help with soldering the connector insert, follow this tinning method. First, add a drop of flux to each wire. Then, use your soldering iron to tin the end of each wire. Now, use a wire stripper to remove a small portion of insulation from each wire. Then you'll be ready to solder the connector insert. Nice! Insert the wires into their corresponding sockets and solder them in place without using too much solder. Using too much solder here will create a bump, which could cause a short circuit. Next, abrade about 35 millimeters of the cable jacket. Following that, wipe down the abraded area with acetone. This creates an optimal bonding surface for the epoxy. Before moving on, inspect your work for any mistakes, then slide down the connector shell. Using a vise or other tool, secure the end of the cable to the working surface of a drill press or arbor press. Then attach the cable termination tool, making sure the correct wire is oriented towards the flat side. Carefully press the connector insert into the shell. At this stage, remove the cable termination tool and slide the silicone mold down over the connector shell. Before moving on to the epoxy stage, use a multimeter to perform one final check for mistakes or shorts. For the epoxy, we recommend using a mixing tip fitted with a 30mm 16-gauge needle. Make sure the epoxy is well mixed and that there are no air bubbles. Let about 1 cc of epoxy come out the end of the needle to make sure that everything inside is well mixed. Carefully insert the needle all the way down between the cable jacket and the inside of the shell and begin injecting epoxy. Let some come out of the top and continue injecting as you remove the needle. This helps prevent bubbles. Wipe away any excess epoxy and allow it to fully cure undisturbed. After the epoxy has fully cured, slide back the silicone mold and inspect your work. Finally, carefully cut off the silicone mold using a pair of clippers and install the lubricated O-ring. Your cable is now ready to test and use. Well done! This concludes the procedure. As stated at the beginning of the video, this procedure is applicable for all connector sizes and pin configurations available from Blue Trail Engineering. Thanks for watching.